Welcome to the You're Not Wrong podcast, a place where nothing is wrong, you are not wrong, and it's a continuous celebration of you and the gift you are in the world.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to You're Not Wrong podcast. Michelle and I are together today. You just get the beautiful two of us. We don't have another guest, but we have some fun things to talk about. So, Michelle, what do you want to visit about today?
Yeah, well, gosh, there's so many things to visit about. And kind of what's popping for me is bodies, like how different each of our bodies are. And it's so funny because I was talking to my sister actually the other day, and I can't remember. I know what we were talking about. We were talking about how much, like how it basically the bottom line is how much we have sort of decided that our bodies aren't that different in this world, meaning they can look different and that sort of thing, but we treat them a lot of times as like the one size fits all thing. Does that make sense? Like eat 3 meals a day, or if you have a headache, take this, or blah, 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 blah. And instead of asking questions and being aware of how different our bodies can be.
Well, that's such a great topic, and it's a fun conversation to have because I didn't really even know that I had a body. And that sounds so weird to say.
Can you say more about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, like I never really even paid attention to my body. I didn't ever even acknowledge that it was having conversations with me that I wasn't listening to. So the only time I really even like had any reference point was when it would act up. And I say that because it was like I would have body pain, and then I would try to connect the dots to all of that. Like, oh, like I need a new bed because my back hurts in the morning when I wake up.
Mm.
Or just, oh, I have scoliosis. So of course my back would hurt, or, like never really exploring that it was it was different from what I had going on in my head, that my body was energy. I didn't ever even pay attention to my body unless it was doing something I didn't like.
Wow. And that's so interesting what you just said about like your head. Yeah, like your head versus like your body. Yeah, because that's what we're taught, is to go to our head to try to figure things out. And yeah, we all do it. And I wonder what it would be like if we started to really like, gosh, and the word is so different right now because it's like if we were willing to step into like the idea of getting out of our head, the notion of getting out of our head with so many things. And like, can you talk more about that and your body kind of versus your head, and how it sounds like they're separate, but they're not, but they are. And what is that?
Yeah, for me, it's funny because I started using essential oils about, gosh, I think it's now been like 6 7 years ago, right? And that kind of started this whole journey of communicating with my body,
Mm.
that there were other ways to play with things that were coming up as wrong. Okay, so we'll go back to the you're not wrong piece of all of this. I made everything that showed up in my body wrong, because if it didn't, even if it felt good, I would create it as wrong, right? So like you know, anything that I would choose, like exercise. You're supposed to exercise like that. You know, everybody's like, you've got to go to the. So I was going to the gym, and I was doing combat class, which is really fun actually, but my body would hurt, and I had you know, like neck stuff, all of this stuff, and so I started using oils. And I there was a device that I was using that actually would like read the biomarkers in my body and tell me what essential oils my body actually required at the time. Well, it took me out of here.
Yeah.
So it was actually me using something that I could put in my hand that would read my body, scan my body, tell me, oh, hey, you need, you know, deep blue or whatever, frankincense or, you know, who knows what, whatever oil, essential oil to contribute to your body. Now I could make that like, oh, this is for this and it's for this. And well, how come my migraine? How come there isn't an oil for a migraine? Right? Like it was just this whole thing that I would still go back to my head.
Yeah.
But really, it started this whole journey of what is my body asking for? And what if I don't have to like figure this out? What
Mhm.
if I can just like, and it really did it took a device to actually let me play with the energy of that, because that was energy. And so oils would show up that didn't make sense. And I would be like, okay, like, I don't know why, but I'm going to make this rollerball and I'm going to use these oils. And I'm going to see what happens. So that was kind of my intro to what if I didn't make everything wrong with my body? And what if my body had so much more information for me that I wasn't even tapping into.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of like when we're it's tapping into the miraculousness
Yeah.
of our bodies and the miraculousness of the world that we live in, actually.
Yep.
And that's really, really cool. I love that. It's you know, you and I both have a history with access consciousness,
Mhm.
and we still practice access consciousness. And I'm an access consciousness body process facilitator. And when you were talking about like the oils and like, you know, how maybe it's calling for this oil for this thing even though it doesn't make sense, and that's the same thing with these body processes, is that a lot of times if somebody shows up and you actually learn to ask the body what it knows, and asking the body like what process will contribute to it. And a lot of times it makes no sense because you're like, wait a minute, this person has a like, you know, isn't sleeping at night or whatever they have going on, but this process wants to run. and and like when you start to trust that, and I'll admit, like, I am not that great at listening to my body. Like, that's something that I personally am asking to, and I've been asking for quite a few years. And, you know, you can ask all you want, but choice trumps everything. So, what would it be like if I chose to listen more to my body?
Mm.
Um, but it's like we can do that, then, like, we can take that and we can do that, like, with food, because so often we draw conclusions about what it is our body wants to eat instead of like asking it. And that's something that I've actually gotten really good at when I go to the grocery store now. I mean, I don't know how you shop, but like when I go there now, a lot of times I just am like, even if it's like my mind will be like, but then I get like, okay, I wanted to make potato leek soup the other day,
Mhm.
and I was all like gung ho about it. And the minute I got to the grocery store, my body was like, I don't want it anymore. Like, I don't want you to make it. And so I didn't make it.
Yeah. And
I
what did
mean,
your body want?
well, I mean, this could, then a couple days later, my body was like, it does
Mhm.
actually want it.
Yep.
And so then I did go and I got it, and I actually made it last night and it tasted so good. But like, we're so taught that that would be like, what, like just buy the stuff or whatever instead of going there and coming back and then going there again. But it's like, what if it's like our bodies are divine and what they know about the timing of things?
Well, I have a family. So my husband and I, and then I have two beautiful kids. And so I have a son that, doesn't live with us, who's older, and then I have a freshman in college. And so right now is break, right? So she's home. And so prior to that, it's been like 5 months of just my husband and I. And he is the cook in the house. So, for years, food is his love language. Like to create these big meals that are, that have a lot with them. Um, for dinners has been like my body sometimes is like, I don't really want that, but I feel like I have to eat it, right? Because there's this whole like, oh, if I don't eat it, his feelings are gonna get hurt or whatever. But my body is saying like, yeah, please don't eat that. Like I really would just like a protein shake and just that, like not like that. So I've been able to communicate that now where he's like, hey, what sounds good for dinner? And I'm like, I'm just gonna do a shake. Like I'm good. Like my body doesn't want a big dinner tonight. But like last night, it was kind of like everybody sitting there kind of going, what's for dinner? And my body was like, "Oh, I want something." And I didn't know what. Like I was like, "Oh, what is it? Like what do I want to eat?" Right? And I've had so much judgment of my body over the years, like my weight or whatever. And and I've changed that. So it's so much fun now to go, you know what? I'm not going to judge this. If that's what it wants, then that's what I'm going to eat. So it was funny because we have a restaurant here that has these burgers that have like, I mean, it is like a burger and cheese and pulled pork, with sauce, and then like onion rings and like, oh yeah, and fries and all of that. And that's what my body wanted. And so my daughter was like, "Ooh, I think we should go eat." And I was like, "Oh, I think we should just order in. Like, can we just eat here?" And so she went and got it and brought it back, and I ate half of it. I didn't require the whole thing. And
Yeah.
just because we bought it didn't mean I had to eat the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I picked through it. And so like I took the bun top off and then I just ate the pulled pork and there was bacon on it. I ate that. And like my body was just like, oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
But I got to actually like enjoy it because that's what my body wanted,
Yeah.
you know?
That's so
So
cool. And because
awesome.
what I love that what you're talking about too is like, that's really different.
It is different.
It's
Very different.
really different. It's yeah. And so often it's like we shy away from all that stuff because I mean, how many people feel bad? Oh my God, my husband just cooked me, he like all that stuff. I just paid, $20 or whatever it is for this thing, and now I'm not
I
gonna
got
eat it. It's like, but what an honoring that is and how much fun it is to get to this space where we begin to listen to our bodies because it is fun.
Yeah, well, and to be able to say, "Oh my gosh, I've had this burger before, but last night it tasted amazing." So, like I get that there is so much discussion about this, like food and bodies and all the things, but it's fun to just like I get to play with this now. For me,
Yeah.
it really is this exploration of who am I? What does my body even want? Like I've had mornings that I've gotten up and went to put clothes on and I was like, who bought these clothes? Huh. There really is not a lot in here that I even want to wear today. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, cool. Like, all right, body, what do you want to wear?
Yeah.
Because we change. We are not these like we to celebrate the difference that I am every day. I celebrate the difference that I'm every day. Some days my hair's up, some days it's down. Like, I mean, it's just like, okay, like, what if that's not wrong?
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
And we
Yeah,
do that. And you're not wrong.com. Like this whole creation has so much to do with just honoring the difference.
yeah,
The difference.
totally. Yeah, because it's yeah, yeah, totally. And for so many people, it's like, and I know for me personally, at first, when I sort of concluded about why I wouldn't want to listen to my body. Because I concluded that if I listened to my body, it would want to do all of these things that I perhaps don't want to do, or it would want to eat all of these things that perhaps I don't want to eat. But like, that's such a great example of, you know, my body likes sugar sometimes, for sure.
Yep.
And when you're listening to it, and when it's like happy to have that, oh, there is no judgment there. Because
Yeah.
it's, yeah, and that's like a whole nother topic about like how judgment, what that creates in our bodies. And I mean, we could talk about this for like a long ass time.
And we will. Like
There we
I think
go.
that's the fun of this is we get to talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, totally. Because yeah, because it is like, um, you're not wrong.
Mhm. Well,
You're not wrong.
what I notice is when I actually gave up being wrong with
Mm,
my body changed. So, I mean, basically I've been able to, I'm going to say, dissipate 40 pounds from my body that it didn't want to hang on to. It didn't want that. But I would force things over the years that created something that wasn't very kind. And it wasn't from listening to my body. It was from my head going, "Oh, don't eat that. Oh, that's," I mean, my mom used to say, and God love her, but she used to say, "Pass your lips straight to your hips." And I bought that as, oh, yep, anything that goes in is going to go straight to my butt, my hips, my thighs, whatever, right? And so, guess what my body looks like or looked like? It really doesn't now. It's changed a lot, but I've allowed it to change. I've allowed it to be what it wants to be, not what my head says I am supposed to be or look like.
yeah,
And
totally.
it's such a cool, it's so much fun. That's so much more fun. I'm 50. I am 50 years old. And I'm just now like going, oh, yeah, you get it when you get it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not wrong.
Oh, you're not wrong. You are
Never
not
too late.
wrong.
Never too late to get it.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Such a fun
yeah,
conversation because I know, Michelle, you move your body.
yeah.
You like Michelle loves to like hike.
I do
And
love to hike and snowshoe.
yeah.
And it's funny though, because I've had a lot of judgment about my body on the opposite side of the fence, like just being, I'm pretty thin. And so, and everybody would always assume that, when you're thin, you're healthy. Like, that's such a lie in this reality, in this world that we live in. If you're thin, you're healthy. People,
No.
no, like, that's not it. If you're thin, your body's happy. No, that's not. That's like such, what would it be like to have a world where we really did get to celebrate, allowed our bodies to celebrate what it is that they would like to be?
Have you ever asked your body what it wants to look like?
I have.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a really fun question.
yeah. And it changes.
It does
It
change.
changes when I when I first started this work, the little medicine women on like the Disney movies,
Yes,
the little short
yes,
with the gray hair, right?
yes.
I was like, really? That's what you want to look like? Really? That's what I was getting for like a while. It was like, oh, that's what I want to look like. So then I had to look at like, what is that? Like, what is that? Right.
Yeah.
And play with that energy. But it's like, yeah, now I'm just like, okay, show up however you want to show up. Like I've asked my eyes to change colors. I've asked my skin to clear up. I asked my body to just create things that are fun.
Yeah.
And hiking and exercising is not really fun for me.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
fun for me.
Yeah, because we're all different.
I know.
You know? It's
But I
like,
love what you said, because in this reality, people are like, oh, well, if this is, like if you're thin, you're healthy. If you're in the gym, you're healthy. If you're hiking 14ers, you're healthy, right?
yeah,
It's what if all that's bullshit?
it is all bullshit. Yeah, it is all bullshit. Because it's like our bodies are so freaking aware and they're so magical. They are magical creatures that this world that we live in invites us to God, what was the word that we were talking about the other day? Like not disassociate, but to like negate.
Yeah.
That's not the word, but it's the same. To negate the intelligence of our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. And I hadn't ever considered, I didn't even think about that before. Like it was not in my way of, because I really listened to a lot of what my ancestors, mom, grandma, great grandma, like, oh, this is just how you're supposed to do this
Yeah.
with your body. And then I look back and look at everything that they created with their bodies, and I just thought, oh, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like when we look at like our bodies are very different. And
Yeah.
I remember like growing up in my family, one of the first things that like my mom would talk about or my mom would say, and I love you, mom. But
My
she,
mom.
but it's like, oh, that kid's so homely. Or like it would just, it's like really like the appearance of people, like the way that people look is something that was a part of my world growing up.
Yep. Mine too.
And it's so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up. And
Yeah.
and thank God that like that shifted so much for me because yeah, that's like a whole nother conversation too. Because it's a whole conversation about how then like we stick people with stuff. It's like when we tell a kid that, they're so pretty all the time, or they're so this all the time, or they're so smart. It's like you want to lift, like acknowledge the gifts in people. But sometimes those positive things can also stick people in a different kind of way. So again, that's a whole nother conversation.
I love it though. And I love this conversation because, it is just, it's a difference. It's doing this life in a different way. And it's so much easier for me just in my body. It's so much easier for me now than it was. And there's all kinds of like diets and different things and all of this stuff. But I mean, I did all of that. And then I looked back and it's like I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
I was making choices at the time with what I knew or what I thought I knew, or with what I had to work with. Like it was just what it was. And then some miraculous things changed, and my awareness and my whole world in the last few years has looked completely different. So, to look at that and go, okay, if the audience is listening to this, and you're still with us, cool, thanks. Thanks for still being here. But how much more of this discussion can we have?
Yeah.
And who do you know that has created something really different with their body? Who do you know? Like, we would be so excited to have them come on and be a guest, and let's talk about bodies, but let's talk about all of that. Like, and
Yeah.
that's where this creation is going. I think you can
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
um and it's not about making yourself wrong. It's not even about making yourself right.
Yep.
It really is just acknowledging that we are different and celebrating that in whatever that is. And
Yeah.
that, and I mean, just even, you know, choosing to mother differently. Like, I am choosing to create a different conversation, a courageous conversation with my kids
Mm-hmm.
than I had. Like, I remember like sitting there and being told, like, you got to eat everything on your plate.
Yep.
How many people have heard that? Like, how many people were told that?
Oh, and how awful was the food sometimes when you just like, Jesus, like it's not like, don't make me eat.
My dad would literally make me sit until I ate it. And it would be something like green beans that would get like partway down and they'd come right back up and I'd end up puking or whatever. And it was like this torture
It's
to
pure
eat,
torture.
to eat. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, wait a minute. Like, wait. That
And
might, no, that doesn't work for me.
and you know what, like, you know how you okay, so for those of you listening out there, like, you can tell, like, when you're willing to acknowledge how many things we're told aren't true out there, like how many lies there are out there, like, you can tell this whole thing about like how you're supposed to look or what your body's supposed to look like, you can tell it's a lie. And I'm gonna, because you see people who look different, who have different bodies, who are so comfortable with themselves and their bodies, like their energy is such an invitation that we know them because we all have seen them. Some of them are famous and some of them are your neighbor or somebody, it's somebody at the grocery store or whatever, that you just like, their light emanates something that you're just like, holy crap. And they may not be the most attractive, whatever we've called that to be in terms of physical in this world, but they are so comfortable that that's how you can tell that all that shit that's out there in the magazines and on TV and whatnot is total bullshit, because
Yeah.
those people have been willing to step up and be them and shine their bright light in the world. And what could it create if we all were willing to learn to shed all of that judgment, all of that wrongness, all of that rightness, and really begin to see the beauty that we each are.
Well, and how much of that have we actually known? Like, when I see people, it's like I've always known there was an energy to people. It didn't matter what they looked like,
Yeah.
right? But yet there's times when I'm like, ooh, yeah, no, not that person. They
Yeah,
can
well,
be.
right, because it's the opposite too, where like the person who, fits into whatever they're, whatever we're told is like the perfect way to be. And you're just like, holy crap, can you like, you run the other way because their energy is so dank. But like with kids and stuff, and you know, teenagers and I mean, they get so wrapped up into like what they're supposed to look like and not look like and do and this and that. And that's where, the invitation to you're not wrong.com is to really like, what can we do and be together to start to have these conversations. And Jen, like you said a minute ago, like Is there somebody that you know who's created something dynamic with their body, or created an organization, or whatever it is that the world needs to know about? Like, we would love to know more about them, or know, or hear from you, because yeah,
Yeah.
what if there's no because?
I adore you, and this whole creation, and just being able to have these courageous conversations that, um that yeah. I always It's kind of interesting because it's like, our bodies are only here on this planet for a certain amount of time, the body, right? And it's like, gosh, like, how much more fun can I have with my body than that I haven't that I haven't even explored yet. But I like, like, it's just so, and it's always day to day for me. Things show up and I'm like, oh well, what is this? Right? Like, oh, okay, this is new, you know. And I love that we can play with the energy of that, and not make ourselves wrong.
Yeah.
And I almost said so wrong, because there's that element of judgment in our world that, I don't know about you, but I walk through it every day. And it really it's an awareness for me to go, oh, that's judgment. Okay, cool. I'm
Yeah.
doing that. I'm
Yeah.
judging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what if you're not wrong?
What if
Well,
you're not wrong?
Well, let's wrap up. And I know that there is so much more with you'renotwrong.com that we're gonna talk about and play
Yeah.
with and explore. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And Michelle, as always, thank you for co-creating this with me.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. And thanks to everybody out there. And I wonder how many more dynamic and courageous conversations we will be having this year. I'm just really excited. So,
Me too.
till next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Our target is to celebrate what it is that makes us different. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like it and share it with your friends. And stay in touch at you'renoTWrong.com.